Hello bookworms. I don't need these. These are plastic. So welcome to today's vlog. Today I'm going to give you my top tips on how to add more academia aesthetic to your life. So if you have a love of learning, a love of books, a love of all things scholarly and academia, you don't have to be in college, you don't have to be enrolled in a school, but you can surely embrace that love of learning and add a bit of that aesthetic to your life. So if you're new here, I'm Ange. I'm your very casual librarian. I'm also a mum of two. I work in the public library service here in Melbourne in Australia. I'm completing my Master of Information Services, so I'm a librarian in training. And if you're a returning bookworm, welcome home. So today's vlog is going to be my top tips to add some more of the academia aesthetic and love of learning to your life. There are a whole bunch of different ways you can bring academic aesthetic into your life, and there's actually different types of academic aesthetic too. The traditional ones you think about are probably dark and light academic aesthetic. Dark academia is kind of like Harry Potter kind of feel. It's very gothic and the buildings are very dark and dark wood and candles and tobacco smoke and stairwells. They're kind of dark academia. When you think of light academia, that tends to be more of the neutral colours and the colours of blank canvas and parchment paper and white candles and chandeliers, feathered quills and white Victorian dresses. They tend to be the light academia aesthetic. But there's also other types of academia aesthetic too. Think of myself more as a romantic academic. So I like flowing dresses and candlelight and romantic music, horses and roses and bunches of flowers, the smell of lavender and roses, warm cups of coffee, scones baking. That's kind of my academic aesthetic. But there's also chaotic academia. So when you think about a room in a Studio Ghibli movie, so lots of mess and clutter and piles of books and paper everywhere and dust motes in the air and cups of pens and half-finished manuscripts. That's more of the chaotic academia aesthetic. And there's also tons more. There's like a nature and natural sort of witchy botany aesthetic. There's space and science academia. So if you're into geometry and space and engineering and mechanical moving parts and steampunk, that's kind of your more space and science academia. There are so many different types, honestly. You can Google a whole bunch and see what sort of academic aesthetic suits you the best. I'm a bit more on the romantic side and but I do swing to light and dark academia as well. I love science, I love space, and I love botany and plants, and I have plants all over my house. So don't limit yourself to just one aesthetic. Explore them all and see which ones you like the best. So my first and most important tip for adding academia and the academic aesthetic to your life is firstly to love learning. Learning is a lifelong process, and it doesn't matter if you're enrolled in an official study program or you're enrolled in college or university, you can still have a love of learning and be interested and curious about the world and learn new things every day. I really recommend following your curiosity as a learner. So anything that takes your fancy, anything that grabs your attention, and anything that makes you go, I want to know more about that, follow that curiosity. If it means doing a deep dive on the internet, if it means finding YouTube channels that take you down a rabbit hole of learning, if it means seeking out knowledgeable people in your life, if it means going to a university or going to a library and asking your librarians, I highly recommend that. They're very knowledgeable people, and if they don't know about the topic, they know how to find information. That's our job. So if you have a current interest, and I'm the sort of person that when something piques my curiosity, I have to find out everything about that topic that I can. And I've always been like it. I've been like it my whole life. and hence my huge book collection. I'm always a lifelong learner, so I'm someone who always needs to know more about things and needs to find out information. So I highly recommend chasing your curiosity, even if it's something completely random, if it's something that you've just seen on TV or in a movie or flicked past on Facebook. There is always opportunities to learn about new things. And it's so easy in today's day and age. We've got so much information at our fingertips and so many interesting people we can talk to. Highly recommend chasing your curiosity. My next tip for adding some academic aesthetic to your life is to occasionally find places that you can explore that have that academic aesthetic feel. And you know the places I'm talking about, anywhere that has knowledge or that feels like you could find out more things or information. My favourite places are obviously libraries, naturally, but also you might be able to find a museum in your area, a cemetery, a historical place, an Indigenous site where you can go on a tour. Anywhere where you can learn something new. Art galleries are amazing, and usually there are free exhibits and free museum exhibitions you can go to in your local area. It's a lot easier when you live near a big city, but local areas always have knowledgeable people, historical societies, historical sites, libraries, old buildings, cenotaphs, all these different places you can go to where you can explore history or learn something new about your area, or just feel like you're sitting amongst history and sitting amongst the great minds in your area. Highly recommend getting out and seeing what you have nearby you. There are probably things you've never even thought to explore before. My next tip for getting more academic aesthetic into your life is embracing the fashion, embracing the colour schemes, and embracing just little accessories that make you feel a bit more academic. I like to carry my scholarly backpack, an academic piece of clothing, or a school-looking scarf, and a knitted cardigan can make you feel like you're in a more aesthetic academia mood. And when you think about colour schemes, think about the colours of old books. So they tend to be muted neutrals and browns, with a little bit of gold, navy, maroon, those sort of uniform colours. Bottle green, the darker, more formal, historical uniform colours. Yeah, go for the colours that you see old leather-bound and cloth-bound books in, and you won't go wrong. That's the academic aesthetic. Now, aside from actually going to a place or following your curiosity and learning new things, another thing that you can do to get more academic aesthetic into your life is to take up hobbies and pastimes that are quite academic. And academic pastimes tend to be more mindful and slower type activities. So you might find reading something historical, listening to classical music, meditating, going on a long meditative stroll in your neighbourhood, a long walk in the forest or through a cemetery. Other academic activities include knitting, calligraphy, writing letters by hand, painting with watercolours, doing cross-stitch like the ladies in Jane Austen's books. Basically, if you can imagine a Jane Austen character doing it, it's probably academic aesthetic. So finally, some book and TV and movie recommendations if you're trying to explore more of the academia aesthetic in your life. There's a number of books you can read. I loved If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, which is set in a theatre college, a really prestigious college. I also loved Lorinda by Alice Pung, which is set in a very rich, exclusive private school. I also recommend The Secret History by Donna Tartt, Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. Of course, the Harry Potter books, they're amazing, especially number 1. The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, Babel by R.F. Kuang, and also Yellowface by Rebecca F. Kuang. If you're looking for movie or TV recommendations that will get you into the mood for academic aesthetic, I can't go past Dead Poets Society. It's one of my favourite movies, and it's set in a school, and you cannot get more academic aesthetic than that movie. I also recommend Anne of Green Gables, of course, the Gossip Girl series, any Jane Austen movie, but I highly recommend Pride and Prejudice and Emma. Little Women, definitely. movies by Studio Ghibli, but especially I think My Neighbor Totoro and probably Arrietty have the most, at least, chaotic academia atmosphere. The Chronicles of Narnia, Discovery of Witches, and also Chocolat. So that's my starter pack, my tips for getting more into the academic aesthetic and bringing more academia into your life. You don't need to wear a jacket with leather patches on the elbows. You don't have to smoke a pipe or wear glasses or be a college student or a university student. You don't have to be super smart. All you have to do is have a love of learning and be curious about things and bring more love of learning into your life. So anytime you can pick up an interesting book, make yourself a cup of coffee and sit down for an hour of learning and quiet meditation, you are being academic. And everyone could do with a bit more slow living and learning in their lives and expanding their knowledge for sure. So bookworms, I hope you, oh my gosh, I poked myself in the eye. I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. Thanks so much for being here and spending this time with me. I hope I inspired you and gave you some ideas for getting more academia into your life. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and comment what you're reading down below. And I'd love your tips for books, accessories, places to visit, things to watch, classical music to listen to, any tips you have for our other bookworms. Please comment down below, because then we can compile a big list of things that we can all go and do to get more academia into our lives. And of course, I'll make lists and put links to some of the resources that I love and that I used in the comments and description box below so that you can find them if you're interested. Right? I'm nearly at the bottom of my cup of tea, so I'm going to make a fresh brew and sit down and read, probably by candlelight, I think, for a bit longer. It's starting to get dark here and the light's just right for candlelight reading. So I hope you cuddle up and do something nice for yourself today. Follow your curiosity, always, bookworms, and I will catch you in the next vlog. Mwah!